So, Rashada, can you turn your camera on and say hello?
Hi, how are you?
Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm excited and grateful for everyone who's joining us today.
Well, if you could just pull your deck up and give us a self introduction and take it away.
Absolutely. So, um, first of all, I just want to thank you, Ginger, for starting kicking off this meeting. As you mentioned, my name is Rashada Timkee, and I am super excited to join you all today. I am a strategic risk management leader who champions the people behind processes and procedures. I have over 10 years of financial services experiences. Within the first and second line, and I build meaningful partnerships to help global institutions manage risk. So I'm all about the risks and controls. Outside of my professional life, I proudly contribute to the Tampa Bay community through volunteer work with the City Black Heritage Inclusion Network, the Junior League of Tampa Bay, and as a proud University of South Florida Bull, so go Bulls. In all that I do, my ultimate goal, is to lead a life reflective of loved ones cherished and not a legacy built at their expense. Over the next few moments, what I want to do is explore the incredible opportunities that arise when we step outside of our comfort zones and just ask. So that is the title of this presentation. Just ask the power in your petition. And at the end of this presentation, my goal is that you embrace the support that you deserve. So to dive in, I'd like to share the leadership journey of someone I've grown to know that some may be able to relate to. So protect her identity. We are going to call her Lisa. So Lisa had always been a self-sufficient individual. As the independent middle child, she excelled in school, managed while managing household chores with little supervision. Her parents and teachers praised her reliability and resourcefulness, and she took pride in being the one who could figure things out. This can-do attitude carried Lisa through her education and into her professional career, where she quickly became known as a trusted advisor, someone who consistently delivers results without needing much support. From the outside, Lisa's story seemed like a perfect success. She was able to experience a rewarding career, including pivots, and climb through the ranks to reach leadership goals. However, she experienced a season of frustration during a career plateau. While she performed well and remained engaged, she often felt overlooked for professional growth opportunities. Lisa described herself as the low maintenance plant, the kind that enhances the office environment but doesn't require much watering or attention. While her independence earned her respect, it also left her without the advocacy and mentorship and sponsorship she needed. Lisa realized that she had been waiting for her leaders to intuitively understand her needs based on her performance. Asking for support felt like admitting weakness, something she was deeply uncomfortable with. It was only after reflecting on her frustrations that Lisa had an epiphany. Her reluctance to ask was holding her back. To grow, she needed to rebrand herself, not as someone who avoided asking for help, but as someone who strategically advocated for development. This revelation transformed Lisa's approach to leadership. By learning to ask boldly and intentionally, she not only experienced fulfillment in her career, but also became an advocate for empowering others to do the same. Her story serves as a powerful reminder that asking isn't a sign of weakness. It's a leadership skill that unlocks potential for everyone involved. How do I know this for sure? Because the identity I was originally protecting is my own. This is my real life story and a big part of the reason why I am so passionate about the need to give ourselves permission to just ask. So, to guide our discussion, I'm going to outline what we are going to explore today. We'll start by examining the power of asking. We're going to identify when to make strategic inquiries. We're going to address barriers that may hold us back and learn how to apply these insights in our respective professional journeys. So I do have this quote that says, "You get in life what you have the courage to ask for," which was said by Oprah Winfrey. And so I'm just going to share a quick story that really helped to unlock this aha moment for me. So one holiday season, I volunteered at the Salvation Army's Angel Tree Toy Shop. You all may be familiar with it because they will have trees in, some of our major big box stores. So my role was to shop for children's wish lists, which included everything from clothes to toys. And some of their wish lists were simple, like arts and crafts or Marvel toys, while others were a bit more ambitious, asking for tablets, hoverboards, and video games. And I remember getting a list that included a tablet. And I remember being so disappointed when I realized the toy room didn't seem to have those more expensive items. So I started to worry about how I'd be able to finish this list. And I literally remember feeling sorry for the child who innocently asked for exactly what he wanted, right? Then I decided to go to the director for guidance. And to my surprise, there was actually a stash of special gifts, the tablets, the electronics that were kept in her office. And these were reserved for the children who specifically asked for them. And that moment for me, when I was able to add that Kindle to the child's bundle, was obviously a mix of joy and relief. And I think the biggest thing was me realizing that his request wasn't in vain. And it really got my wheels turning. Again, a literal aha moment. How many opportunities have I missed by staying silent or playing it safe? What if we applied this brave and inquisitive spirit to our professional and personal lives? Let's explore where these opportunities might arise. Asking is how we unlock growth, but instead of simply viewing it as asking, let's dig into some common opportunities we can learn to embrace. First being seeking clarification. Asking for clarification demonstrates initiative and ensures alignment. It helps to avoid misunderstandings and keeps projects on track. And I know that sometimes we may hesitate because we may feel like we should have understood whatever the ask was. But imagine being on a complex assignment with vague instructions. Instead of making assumptions, asking clarifying questions like, can you elaborate on the expected deliverables? What's the timeline? Those type of questions actually save time and ensure success. Requesting feedback. I think we all know that feedback is essential for growth. So proactively seeking it shows our commitment to improvement and opens opportunities for learning. After presenting a project, you might ask, what worked well? Where do you think I can improve? And this not only enhances your skills, but builds trust with your colleagues and your leadership. Asking for mentorship. Mentorship, and I really should have put sponsorship, can accelerate your professional development. Asking a senior leader or even a peer that you greatly admire for guidance shows respect for their expertise and your desire to grow. Another opportunity involves inquisitive relationship building. We've all found ourselves at amazing networking events, but instead of focusing the dialogue on ourselves during networking opportunities, ask thoughtful questions to foster meaningful connections and uncover, even greater opportunities that can be unlocked. My go-to questions include, what inspired you to pursue the role that you're in, and what advice would you give someone who's looking to make a similar impact? We can propose new ideas. Sharing those ideas demonstrates creativity and initiative, and asking for input on those ideas invites collaboration. So it could be as simple as giving someone a proposal. I've been thinking about a way to streamline our reporting process. Can I share my initial thoughts and get your feedback? And then lastly, introspective inquiries. This honestly is my favorite. Self-reflection is a powerful tool for growth. Asking yourself critical questions helps you understand what makes you tick and allows you to better align personal and professional opportunities. This can include uncovering what your strengths are independently, right? And I think that's worth assessing, every five years or so, because we grow and we change and we evolve. Um, you can do that independently, as mentioned, or you can do it through established assessments. Lately, I've been actually exploring what my core values are, being very intentional about identifying those core values, which has really helped me discern the opportunities that I want to pursue versus those that I should pass on. All right. But what prevents us from asking in the first place? Think about your own experiences. What stopped you from making an ask? Let's discuss some of these barriers. As leaders, we all encounter barriers when it comes to asking for help. Whether it's internal or external, these obstacles can prevent us from tapping into the resources and support we not only need, but that we deserve. What are the common hurdles? So, starting with internal, the first that comes to mind is fear of rejection. The fear of hearing no is one of the most common barriers. It is understandably rooted in fear, in judgment, and rejection can feel very personal. Of course, fear of rejection also goes hand in hand with another internal barrier, self-doubt. Imposter syndrome or lack of confidence in a particular moment can make us question whether we're truly deserving of what we're asking for. This can be incredibly limiting, even when we have evidence of our success. So, say you overcome the fear of rejection and the self doubt. Overanalyzing can also keep us stuck. Overthinking is something that I am personally guilty of. It is something that many of us do, running through every possible scenario in our minds, often imagining the worst case scenarios. This kind of analysis paralysis can prevent us from taking action. But to be fair, the barriers aren't always internal. Sometimes the environment we're in creates obstacles of its own. Lack of support, a lack of a supportive environment, and that does occur in some workplace cultures. It may seem like open dialogue or inquiry might be discouraged, which can make it challenging to ask for what you need. And the last barrier, our perception of how others view us. We often worry about how our ask might be perceived. Will this person think we're needy or unprepared? This fear can stop us from asking even when it's in everyone's best interest. So now that we've taken time to address the reality of what can impede our ability to ask, we want to start shifting our perspectives and laying the groundwork to develop more comfort advocating for ourselves. So instead of the fear of rejection, we can reframe rejection as redirection. Instead of viewing rejection as a personal failure, again, we can see it as simply feedback. It's a way of guiding us toward better opportunities and a better fit relationship in some cases. Imagine you're asking for a new role and your request is turned down. Instead of internalizing that rejection, see it as a nudge to reconsider your approach or to focus on other opportunities. Maybe it wasn't the right time or the right role for you. Trust me, I've been there. But that doesn't diminish your worth. Once we shift our perspective on rejection, we can also tackle the inner voice that fuels self-doubt, which often holds us back from reaching out for support. Instead of focusing on self-doubt, focus on your track record of success. You've achieved milestones, overcome challenges, and demonstrated resilience. So don't allow selective amnesia to kick in. Your history of accomplishments is proof that you are not only capable of asking for help, but that doing so will help you achieve even greater things. When it comes to overanalyzing, I know I'm not alone in this. Resist perfectionism. As mentioned, many of us fall into the trap of overanalyzing every detail prior to reaching out for help. This is something that, again, I personally have to maintain awareness around. But the truth is, perfectionism is often a form of procrastination that prevents us from making progress. So the key here is to resist perfectionism and embrace progress instead. So now that we've reframed the internal barriers, let's shift gears and talk about some of the external challenges that we can overcome. When it comes to the lack of a supportive environment, we can build rapport and identify allies within our circles. If we're honest, again, in some workplaces and industries, there may not be a culture that encourages asking for help. And it can make it more important to build rapport and identify allies who can help champion our requests. These are people who understand our needs, support our growth, and are invested in our success. By building these relationships, you create a network that makes asking for help not just easier, but more productive. When it comes to the fear of judgment, it's important to remember that asking for help can actually be an opportunity to ensure alignment. When you reach out for support, you're clarifying expectations, aligning goals, and making sure that everyone is on the same page. Oftentimes, you're asking the questions that everyone is hesitating to ask themselves. Okay, and this way, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a proactive move that ensures you and your team are aligned and working towards shared success. By reframing, we create a path where asking for help is not just a necessity, but a powerful strategy for growth. So as I conclude, I want to leave you with this quote from an American author named Nora Roberts. If you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you don't step forward, you're always in the same place. And I'm just going to let that breathe. We're going to let that marinate for a little bit because I really want us to internalize that we are worthy of support. As we near the end of this session, I want to leave you with a call to action. 2 concrete steps that you can take as you step into your leadership power and transform the way you approach asking for help. First, I want you to challenge yourself to identify one strategic ask within the next week, something that aligns with your personal or professional goals. It could be a request for mentorship, more resources for your team, support for your personal development, whatever. Listen, it can be your husband taking the kids to school for the week if that's what you need, okay? Whatever it is, I want you to feel empowered to make the ask. Second, I want you to leave. The second action, that I want you to leave with is to share your success stories. This inspires others, and most importantly, normalizes asking for help. We all know how important it is when we see others take action and make bold moves. When we normalize this, we create a ripple effect that can transform the way people approach their own leadership journeys. This is how we break the stigma that asking for help is a sign of weakness. It's not. It's a strength. It involves collaboration. It's a proven leadership strategy, and it's growth. So as I wrap up, I just want to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who took time out to be here today. Your presence truly reflects your commitment to growth in your own leadership. I just want to reiterate that asking is not just about getting answers, it's about opening doors, building relationships, and creating a path to success. And I honestly can't wait to hear those success stories. I would love to stay connected. You could find me on LinkedIn if you look up Rashada Timkee, or you can reach me via the email listed on this slide. In the meantime, let's empower each other to keep asking boldly. And now I will open it up for my favorite part of this session for anyone who has any questions.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. And yes, a few questions that have come in. First question is going to be about mentors. Have you had a mentor that helped you along your journey? And specifically, maybe how did you resource that person and how have you stayed connected with them?
That is a great question. I have been blessed to have several mentors across my journey. I would never, try to um, make it seem as though I've gotten here myself. Some of my mentors have actually been managers that I've been able to build really great, solid relationships with, just through genuine relationship building and being, genuinely curious about who they are outside of their roles. One of my most impactful mentors was a manager on a team when I was assistant vice president. I remember going up for a role that I was encouraged to apply for. I didn't get the role and I was completely heartbroken because I was really engaged on this team, but she was a major advocate. Unfortunately, it wasn't up to her solely to select individuals for this role. And what I can say about this mentor in particular, number one, she transitioned from a mentor to a sponsor, which is major. She walked the talk, and it wasn't that she was just encouraging me to explore opportunities within or outside of the team. She actually went out of her way and brought an opportunity to my attention and said, I think this is going to be a great opportunity for you. I've worked with this person on a stretch assignment. They seem like a solid leader, but I want you to look at their SharePoint site and see if this is something that you may be interested in. And I thought that was amazing. Obviously, it was a role that I was interested in. And so I remember thinking to myself, man, it would be great if she could share my resume with this leader because she knows them, right? And but I was scared to ask. But then this was actually after the Salvation Army encounter, right? So I was like, Rashada, what's the worst that can happen? All she can say is no. And she was like, yeah, I'll share it. No problem, And so that helped to get my foot in the door to interview, and the rest is history. And so when I talk about rejection as redirection, at the time, I thought my trajectory was straight up. I'm on this team, I'm AVP, I'm going to be a VP on this team, and then I'm going to be an SVP on this team. And it's just not always that way. Sometimes our trajectories call us to like branch out, and it's for our own good. So she was major. She really set the bar for me when it came to leadership in general, but she was also a mentor and a sponsor.
Well, that's wonderful. I think we have time for maybe a few more questions. And this one is about disappointment. So any tips on counseling maybe a young worker that has received disappointment, whether it's not getting a promotion, not getting that one thing they wanted? Any tips on how to counsel them, especially if maybe their attitude isn't correct?
That's a good one. I think sometimes, when we think about this next generation of leaders, we may have presumption when it comes to perhaps a sense of entitlement. I like to think of them as audacious. Um, I think that's a better word choice than delusional or entitled. They're going for what they want. And if some of us, well, I'll just speak for myself. If I was honest with myself, I wish I would have had the guts to go for some of the things that they're willing to advocate for themselves around. And so when it comes to disappointment for our next generation of leaders, I think that it's important to allow them space to process their disappointment, understand like what was it about this particular opportunity and not being able to obtain it that is really driving your disappointment. Are you holding yourself to an arbitrary timeline around when you're supposed to get to certain positions? Is that a narrative that you believe or is it true? You know what I mean? And so just helping them with the wisdom that we've been fortunate to obtain over time, realize that this is a marathon. It's not a race. And for me personally, I truly believe that what's meant for me won't pass me by. And I do try to encourage others to embrace that thought process as well. That doesn't mean you sit on your hands and you do nothing. But in the process of you working towards your goal, understand that there may be some detours. And all of that contributes to, the wealth of impact that you're going to make further down the line.
That's fantastic. All right, I think we have time for two more questions before we move to our first panel discussion for the day. And we're going to go start with this one. It says, can you elaborate a little more on analogy paralysis?
Oh, analysis paralysis. I sure can because I do this a lot. So analysis paralysis is essentially when you have a task and you are, prepared to start, or you're right in the middle and you're just digging down in the weeds. You're digging down in the details. And it's not something that happens. Well, let me rephrase that. I feel like it's something that you're doing because you want the best out of this project. You have the best intentions and best interests when it comes to the way that you deliver. And you want to make sure that you're, crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's. But I think that's when perfectionism can actually kind of work against us, because in the process of dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's and making sure that, nothing falls through the cracks, you're kind of stalling the progress. And sometimes this can happen when we are in, an oversight role or a leadership role, and there are actually other individuals that are delegated to do the work, but you feel like you have to look, through and review every single thing instead of empowering them to do the skills that you've hired them for, right? And so that's what I mean when it comes to analysis paralysis. You literally holding up the train, okay, from reaching its destination because you want to ensure that everything is perfect. Life isn't perfect. And I'm quite sure that even if you're enough, because of these high standards that many of us have, exceeds expectations. So I do really want folks to embrace enough and understand when, there are, certain projects or key deliverables that really do call for you to go above and beyond and really, dig in deep, because that's not going to be the case for everything that comes across your desk.
All right, well, final question, and then we'll ask you for final thoughts. I hear you with overanalyzing and self-doubt. I feel like women struggle with this more than men, and I often feel more judged by other women than men. How do we keep our big girl pants on when it's other women that are often picking you and your actions apart?
Ooh, that's a good one. Listen, well, first of all, thank you for asking that question. I think that we've all experienced individuals who have kind of contributed to our self-doubt to some extent. And what I will say is, while it doesn't feel good no matter who does it, it kind of hits different when like it's someone that's a part of your own community. You know what I mean? So when another woman does it to me, it's like, the struggle. So like, why are you perpetuating, this? And so I think the biggest thing that you can do is take a deep cleansing breath. Okay. Take a deep cleansing breath and remember who you are. Remember that it's likely not personal. This person does not single you out to do this to. It may be a part of their personality, but it doesn't have to be a reflection of yours. And it doesn't have to be a reflection of your character. And it certainly doesn't have to be a reflection of your values. Sometimes the best thing we can do is lead by example and rise above. And I have to tell myself that sometimes when I get certain pings or certain emails, and I give myself permission to take a break, take a beat before I respond so that I allow my character to speak for itself instead of that instant reaction that is very tempting.
Well, thank you so much. Well, before we go to our first panel, before we go to our first panel, do you have any final words of wisdom for all of our viewers today?
I will encourage you to really step out of your comfort zones when it comes to asking for help and embrace the support that you deserve. Those are my final words.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and your wonderful thoughts.
Thank you.